Good evening. I'm J. Lenora Bressler, and welcome to the June, what is this? Oh my goodness, 12th, 2017 edition of the Bible Delight in the Details, as we are going through the Psalms and looking at some of the Psalms and getting an idea about how the Psalms can help us in our everyday lives. We know that the Psalms are wisdom literature as well as beautiful poetry and, frankly, the lyrics of the hymn book of ancient Israel. Today we're going to start a several session covering of Psalm 78. Now, it's interesting that it says that it is a maskil. That is spelled M-A-S-K-I-L, and it means in the Hebrew something that is for solemn reflection, something that we are supposed to really consider greatly. There are 12 other Psalms that have that designation. And this one also, like some others, says that it's a maskil of Asaph. Now, Asaph, we know from First Chronicles, was appointed by David himself. He was a Levite, so that means a priest, who served at the temple, and he was one of the people in charge of, and probably was the head of all the musicians. We might think of him as maybe the choir director, the worship leader, and maybe even the court composer. So we have several psalms by this Asaph character, who was apparently very prominent during the time of King David. This is a very lengthy psalm, and it's going to go through all of the history of the Israelites from their time having been delivered from Egypt by the Lord through those 40 years of wandering through the wilderness. And it really recounts a cycle of how God's people were not faithful to him, did not remember all the great things that he had done for them, then got themselves into trouble because they were not obeying him, sought his aid, got into periods of very brief revival, and then, as human beings are wont to do, forgot again. And we have a very vicious and sad and, frankly, completely unnecessary cycle. You know, this psalm is all about that. I don't know about you. I don't mind suffering. I'll deal with it if I have to. But what I don't like is suffering in vain. One of my favorite lines from Gone with the Wind, strangely, comes from Rhett Butler when he says to Scarlett O'Hara, "I hate waste," and that's all this is, waste. And I feel the same way. And apparently God shares this view that we don't want to bring on ourselves and into our lives unnecessary suffering, waste, wasted moments, wasted time, wasted relationships, wasted anything. And how do we stop this waste? Well, Psalm 78 is very clear. It's about remembering the deeds or the acts of God. You know, we worship a God who doesn't just sit up there like that proverbial watchmaker. He made the universe and then he just lets everybody do their own thing. I mean, yes, there's absolutely free will, but he is very interested and very involved in his people's lives, and he does intervene. And those of us that are believers, we know because we see it all the time, day in and day out, in the big things of our lives and in the very, very smallest minutia, that God does intervene. His actions, his deeds are on display if you look around. And Psalm 78 urges us to not only remember his deeds, but more importantly, to teach them to the next generation. And so we are going to talk about that and talk about why it is so critical that we of one generation pass along an understanding of God to the next generation. That is the theme of Psalm 78, and we'll look at it more closely tomorrow on the next edition of the Bible Delight in the Details. Have a marvelous night.